Hello, this is Joshua for Frost Dragon Designs, and today I'd like to talk to you about my Leo Zodiac Cat hard enamel pin. This pin is part of Series 4 of my larger Black Cat RPG collection. In Series 4, I based the first 12 pins off of the 12 astrological signs of the Western Zodiac. This pin was inspired by Leo, the lion. So let's get into the design. There aren't a lot of details to be seen in this sketch, but it does show a female ranger kitty standing next to her lion companion, and she is wielding a melee weapon. In this case, in the sketch, it was a sword. I designed enough rangers that I figured I could work out the rest of the details as I worked on the design itself in Inkscape. I started off by copying one of the heads and hoods from a different design. I think this was the Series 3 Cleric's head and hood, just with a different colored hood. Now, while I draw a lot of cats, I don't draw a lot of lions. So before I even started this part of the process, I did a lot of research and I looked at lots of pictures of lions and did a lot of little sketches to try and get an understanding of what their body looks like, its general shapes and forms. The general shape of the body went well enough, but I felt like I was having a really hard time with the head. And I actually just kept thinking about the sad kind of lion from old Bugs Bunny cartoons, who I think his name actually was Leo. And I just kept thinking, no, this lion has to be awesome looking. He can't be dopey looking. In the end, I think I got the look I was going for, but it was a struggle. Once I got the lion to a good enough point, I moved on to working on the ranger herself. It's not enough for this pin for the lion to look cool. I need the ranger to look cool too. After all, this is a Black Cat RPG pin design, and so she is the Black Cat in this design. Now, if you've seen other pin designs of rangers that I've done, I love rangers in hoods. I love them to have capes. I love them to have trench coat-like things. I like stuff that's able to show movement or stillness in their design. So while I had a pretty good idea of what the outfit itself was going to look like, colors, on the other hand, I didn't have any real clue what I was going to be doing with those. And you will see throughout this video me changing the colors over and over and over. Just trying to find something that I feel like works. But the reason that I stopped on this particular color set is because I looking back on this, liked this, and ended up using this on a variation of the Series 1 Ranger. So while the brown and yellow with the teal hood cloak wasn't the combination I ended up using on the Leo pin design, I did actually go back and use that on a recolor of an existing pin design. So back to the Leo pin design, I hope me flipping through the colors as I work on this doesn't make anyone feel dizzy or anything, but sometimes it just takes a while before you find the color combination that works. Now, I did know from the beginning, right from the sketch, that I wanted this to be a melee ranger. I wanted them to be holding melee weapons, but in my mind, rangers are always still archers, so I wanted to make sure that the bow and arrow was still present, even if it's on her back. But I did want the melee weapon to be more upfront and drawn. I wanted it to be the weapon that she was actively holding. The shape of the sword was inspired by a machete because I figured she might be in like a dense vegetation, maybe needing it to chop her way through with her lion companion. And I even briefly had the idea of maybe making it kind of a double-bladed sword staff kind of thing. I drew a lot of weapons like that as a kid. I always thought they were really cool looking. And they still are really cool looking. It just didn't quite work for me for this particular design. But I do now have that in the back of my mind for potential future designs, that kind of double sword thing. While I was playing around with the colors for the Ranger Kitty, I also briefly played around with the colors for the lions. I think I flashed the lion as being a dark gray with black at one point. But I quickly put it back to regular lion colors. But I think if you're watching the colors, you'll see that I kind of started focusing in on warm colors, on yellows and red. By this point in the design process, I was pretty happy with the general look of the lion, pretty happy with the general look of the kitty, but I was not terribly happy with the poses. They felt a bit uninspired. Now, I've done a pose very similar to this for the Series 3 Sorcerer with her Hound of Ill Omen, but it worked for that. For some reason, for me, someone standing next to a canine works better for me than someone standing next to a large feline. I think that probably has something to do with the type of temperament those types of animals have. Like, you can have a dog trained to stand and wait. But good luck training a cat to kind of stand at attention and wait. And since lions really are just big cats, it just, something about it felt weird to me. So I decided maybe instead of standing next to the lion, she could be riding the lion like some sort of a mount, which is probably even more unrealistic than trying to get a cat to stand there, is getting a cat to let you ride them, even if they are an appropriate size for it. But, rule of cool, so I let it go. Now, I think somewhere around here in the design process is where I started playfully referring to this as the firefighter cat in my head. And this is a typical progression for some of the odd design choices that I make. I'll have an inside joke with myself. Haha, they're like a firefighter. And then I'm like, yeah, they kind of are like a firefighter. And I'm like, maybe that would be kind of cool if I made them like a firefighter. And then I start thinking, what could I do to make them more like a firefighter? And I think that's the progression of what happened here. And sometimes these sort of inside joke decisions that I make for myself end up coming back to bite me, and I'll have, a box full of unsold pins because nobody likes what I thought was funny. I don't think that'll be the case here. I went to try and make this even more like a firefighter's outfit and equipment. But I think in this case, it'll kind of resonate with some people. Maybe not even on a conscious level. I think there's going to be some people who watch this video, and it's going to be the first time that they notice that it looks kind of like a firefighter. But I think what it lends, even if you don't notice that, is it lends kind of a look and feel of authority, a look and feel of someone who's out there to protect you, someone who's willing to put themselves in danger to protect others. So even if you don't recognize immediately the similarities between this character design and color scheme and a firefighter's uniform, I think still something on a subconscious level will get through about who this character is and that they're trustworthy. And I just really love that, design choices like that can have kind of visceral responses. Like, you can look at it and immediately have a feeling of, okay, this is a heroic character. And I think that that's something really cool that you can do when you play off of things from the modern day life. But I decided if I'm going to go firefighter, I needed to go all in. So away with the swords and out with the axes. These are modeled after firefighters' axes. And I feel like they really did bring this design to a strong conclusion. Please go ahead and like and subscribe this video. I will have a new video every week for new pin designs. And thank you very much for your time, and have a great week.